Good evening to you and thank you for joining us on News 360. It is live from Adisawe in Kandakra. My name is Ayisha Yakubu.
And I am Noble Crosby Annan, and these are the headlines of the bulletin tonight.
President Mahama.
Flamingo paint,
Pepsodent charcoal and Pepsodent herbal. EcoBank.
President Mahama demands a reform of the Security Council in his speech to the United Nations General Assembly as he condemns war in Gaza.
Health experts warn of dangers of dangerous levels of heavy metals in Ghana's farm produce, raising alarm over food safety and public health.
Also tonight, management of the Ghana Great Company, Greatco, warns of growing threat of illegal mining, describing it as one of the major challenges currently facing the company.
Coming up in business news tonight, in about 35 minutes, financial economist warns against rushing for lower policy rate amid calls by Food and Beverages Association for single digits.
On the international front, French Navy seizes nearly 10 tons of cocaine off the coast of West Africa worth $610 million.
Welcome to the program. We're live also on all our social media platforms at TV3 Ghana. Let's get interactive there as well. Let's begin the bulletin from here.
President Mahama is demanding not only a reform of the Security Council, but also a reset of the global financial architecture, which is currently rigged against Africa. Addressing the 80th United Nations General Assembly in New York, he added that the slave trade must be recognized as the greatest crime against humanity. President Mahama, in his first address to the United Nations General Assembly since his return to power after 8 years, spoke about the improvement in Ghana's economy.
In just 8 months, we have achieved significant reduction in inflation from 23.8% in December 2024 to 11.5% in August 2025, restoring price stability for our citizens. Additionally, our currency, the Ghana cedi, has appreciated considerably against other currencies, with Bloomberg reporting it as the best performing currency in the world at one point.
He reiterated calls for reparation for slave trade.
Slave trade transported to create wealth for the powerful Western nations. We must demand reparations for the enslavement of our people and the colonization of our land that resulted in the theft of our natural resources, as well as the looting of artifacts and other items of cultural heritage that have yet to be returned in total.
On the ongoing war in Gaza, President Mahama called for an end to the conflict and the need for a two-state solution.
Innocent women and children and people who are facing collective punishment and forced starvation for no reason other than the fact that they are Palestinian. For nearly 2 years and for the fear of reprisals, we here in this General Assembly have been playing hide and seek with language to find the right words to help us avoid or excuse what we all know is taking place in Gaza. But here is the thing, it doesn't matter what you call it. If it looks like a duck, it swims like a duck, and quacks like a duck, well, then it must be a duck. The crimes in Gaza must stop.
He condemned the decision to deny visas to Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas and his delegation. President Mahama further renewed Africa's call for permanent representation on the United Nations Security Council.
Madam President, the UN Founding Charter is outdated when it comes to representation in this August Assembly. The most powerful post-World War II nations are still being rewarded with an almost totalitarian guardianship over the rest of the world. A continent as large as Africa, with its numerous UN member states, would have at least one permanent seat on the Security Council.
Let's have a discussion on this. Dr. Vladimir Ntwidanso is an international relations expert and joins us via phone. Good evening, Doc, and thank you for joining us on News 360.
Thank you for having me.
Now, President Mahama spoke about a lot of things in his speech, but specifically on the conflict in Gaza, the president condemned atrocities and called for an end to the war, supporting the two-state solution. And, some might say this marks a shift from Ghana's traditionally non-aligned posture. Is that what the case is?
No, absolutely. Non-alignment doesn't mean that you can't talk on issues bordering on international multilateralism. So President Mahama today gave a very bold speech. It's what we call offensive diplomacy. He just hit it right there on the head, but it won't go anywhere because for over 30 years we have been talking about reforms of the UN system, the Security Council that is calling for Africa to be on it. This is not the first time. The Izurwini consensus, which Africa presented when Kofi Annan wanted to reclassify or have a new framework for understanding security, didn't go anywhere. Africa was asking for the same thing. Unless we actually put steps towards changing the UN structure, we are going nowhere. The whole world will not see it. Why? Because there is a catch-22 here. Now, all that you will do or say will have to go back to the P5 for them to say yes, all of them to say yes. If one says no, it's no. So unless we change that, unless we have a new charter, completely new charter, and throw this one away, we'll get nowhere. We have said this in 1 billion times. So getting Africa to be on the Security Council doesn't change anything. What we need to change is the whole charter to bring about a proper multilateralism and neoliberalism.
Also,
the point is, yeah, I'm listening.
The president also spoke about the transatlantic slave trade and the need for reparations. Do you believe that this will happen in our lifetime?
Very dicey, very difficult. But if we take the proper steps, Israel had their reparations paid just because they got the correct countries to lobby and lobby and lobby. Africa, we are paying lip service to the reparation question. Ghana has done well. We have had 2 conferences in Ghana already. The third one is coming on in Rwanda, I think, next week. But it has been talk. If that worked out what they are owed and how it should be paid, who should pay, Africa has not been able to do this. The reparation is needed because, as the president said, they are there at the top because of our toil. More than 12, 14 million Africans were just sent there to go and work and build the basis for their economies of today. So it's a legitimate demand. The conscience of humanity must now think of what Africa is saying. But then we must say it properly. On what platform do we say it? And what are the structures we have to put forward so that the payment is made?
Rightly said, Doc. Thank you so much. There are other issues that we'll definitely speak about subsequently in our bulletins. But thank you for your time this evening on News 360. Dr. Vladimir Ntwidanso is an international relations expert.
Now, from global debates to local realities, for many persons with albinism in Ghana, stigma, myths and discrimination against them, they are seriously hindering their effective participation in the society. A situation analysis report of persons with albinism in the country has further revealed widespread challenges, including limited access to health care, education and employment opportunities.
Ryan and Swala are siblings. One mother, one father, but different skin color. It's all due to genetics. Albinism happens just because of the lack of melanin, the pigment that gives color to the skin, hair, and eyes. For many persons with albinism, the sun is their enemy because the ultraviolet rays make them susceptible to skin cancer.
Cancer has its own side effects and complications. Because of delay in detecting it, I suffered the thyroid gland, the jugular vein, the external auditory canal were all affected.
So they have to mostly cover up. They also have challenges with vision. But the greatest enemy for many persons with albinism is stigma and discrimination.
My brother was neglected because he has albinism. The nurses were scared or afraid to touch him because they feel the condition is contagious. And so out of that neglection, we end up losing my brother.
When I was going to have an attachment with one of the biggest hotels in town, and because of my color, they refused to give me the opportunity to do the attachment there. They told me there was no vacancy, but immediately I turned, another person came and they gave the person the vacancy.
These experiences from Richard and Helena are just few of the human rights abuses captured in the human rights situation of persons with albinism reports in Ghana.
The ritual banishment, which essentially means that some people cannot go to certain communities, or even when you go to the communities, you are fearful for your own safety and well-being. So you avoid certain communities because you have heard that in this community, persons with albinism are sacrificed to a particular deity. So you just avoid those communities altogether. When they go to the labor ward, they're being bullied. Nurses and midwives are questioning why they are having children. Even asking them to be celibate or to refrain from engaging in any kind of sexual activity because of whatever myths that.
Some human rights infringements captured in the reports include the attempted abduction of a 16-year-old in Garu in the Upper East region on January 1, 2023, and the unresolved murder of Kofi Yeboah in Sohum in 2017. On the educational front, the report cited bullying and discrimination in schools, resulting in a high dropout rate, the difficulty in writing national exams like the BECE, as registration centers will only ask candidates to indicate if they are blind so that their exam questions can be provided in Braille. A technical aide, Michael Sumaila, who represented the Deputy Chief of Staff, Nana Oyebampo, highlighted government commitment to protecting the rights of persons with albinism.
If there's a need to provide special legislation in criminalizing some of these acts, we will do that.
Executive Director of the Africa Albinism Network called on countries to implement the National Action Plans on Persons with Albinism.
Issues of prevention, protection, accountability, but also issues of equality and non-discrimination. I think these are the 4 pillars that are very critical when we are to respond as a continent to end issues of stigma and discrimination against persons with albinism.
For persons with albinism, they have just one call: that stigma and discrimination against them will end.
Moving on, Acting Chief Justice Paul Bafo-Boni says he will run an open administration and deepen collaboration between the bench and the bar if approved as Chief Justice. He made these pronouncements when leadership of the Ghana Law Society paid a courtesy call on him here in Accra.
President John Dramani Mahama on Tuesday, September 23, nominated Justice Paul Bafo-Boni as Chief Justice to succeed former Chief Justice Gertrude Esaba Tokonu. Justice Bafo-Boni has been serving as Acting Chief Justice since April 2025, following the suspension of Justice Tokonu. During a courtesy call to congratulate him, the Ghana Law Society praised his leadership, describing his stewardship at the helm of Ghana's judiciary as exemplary. The professional body was also hopeful that Parliament will confirm his nomination when it resumes.
Our coming here is simply to congratulate you and to say that ever since you took over the race of the judiciary, we've seen some positives. In the sense that we've noticed how the judiciary is beginning to assert itself and, as it were, showing how independent it can be. And that is what Ghanaians have been craving for. Your sterling leadership is giving hope to Ghanaians. And with the fact that you are also being nominated to continue, we are aware that there's light at the end of the tunnel.
In his first public statement since being nominated, Justice Bafo-Boni pledged to run an open and inclusive administration.
I'm going to run a very open administration. The judiciary, the bench needs the bar. And so we are excited that you have also pledged to support the judiciary and its intendments. And then at the end of the day, it is justice for the people that we all seek after.
However, as concerns could be raised that the Law Society's visit could influence a case currently before the courts, one in which the society is itself a party, and challenging the Ghana Bar Association, Supreme Court Judge Justice Scott Puamang stressed that the courtesy call will in no way prejudge proceedings.
There are other matters which have come to our attention. There's a suit that has been filed by some, I think, 3 plaintiffs. That suit is seeking broader issues of interpretation of the Constitution. And I want, because the media is here, to make it clear that the interaction here is in no way intended to prejudice those broader issues that are being raised in that suit. Your visit is within a different context.
And now from justice to power, management of the Ghana Grid Company, Gridco, has raised serious concerns about the growing threat of illegal mining, also known as galamsey, describing it as one of the major challenges currently facing the company. According to the company, illegal miners operating near power transmission lines have become increasingly aggressive, with some reportedly attacking and even shooting at Gridco personnel while they carry out maintenance work. Just a go, that's the rest of the story.
Management of the Ghana Grid Company made this revelation during a working visit of the Parliamentary Select Committee on Energy to some energy agencies Thursday, September 25. Management of the company bemoaned the impact of illegal mining operations near power transmission lines.
In fact, it's near disaster because you know, as we talked about, the line right of way, you need to clear it so that when you need to do maintenance on the line, you can go there. Now, the right of way clearing becomes lucrative to galamseyers, and in a number of areas, our people go and see that overnight, people come and do their galamseying activities very close to our towers. Now, the towers, you see them as just steel members, but they are carrying a lot of forces and weights, and so the foundation is really calculated. In fact, they do a lot of studies on the ground to design. Every tower foundation is different depending on where it is, and I'm sure these galamseyers don't know, but as you encroach close to the lines, we are coming to the point where, in fact, there are some towers that we have had to rush in to do some intermediary reinforcement. Unfortunately, there are some areas that even when our maintenance teams are going, they get shot at, and some of them have had to run away. And so we are trying to see and leverage and get engaged, because in those areas it's getting to points where Gridco alone cannot manage. And so we need support from all the forces to get it.
They also pointed out that Gridco is dealing with issues such as land encroachment and the high cost associated with paying compensation to landowners and farmers, which continue to place a financial strain on the company. In response, Chairman of the Parliamentary Energy Committee, Emmanuel Bedra, called tougher action against perpetrators. The committee later visited the Energy Commission and finally the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, PURC, where the issue of utilities increments were discussed. Members of the committee expressed displeasure over a recent proposal. Chairman of the committee, Emmanuel Bedra, asked the commission to do proper engagement.
The power that you take from Gridco and then that you sell, if you are not getting the same amount back, you should know that there's something going on. And I believe that we can be able to monitor it, get it, and those who are not paying, we take them off. But we will be here and then 210. So I have told my colleague, and look, tariff doesn't have any political color. It doesn't have NDC color, it doesn't have NPP color. So I've said it on all the media houses that we are all, we all agree that we're not going to accept it. And I want to repeat it again, that this committee has agreed, non-partisan, that we are not going to accept it.
Joseph Armstrong, Gold, TV3, Accra.
Meanwhile, the discovery of toxic heavy metals in food produce from parts of Ghana has sparked concern. A recent report reveals the presence of arsenic, lead, mercury and cadmium in crops from farms partially affected by illegal mining activities known as Galamsey.
These heavy metals pose serious health risks and financial burdens for affected communities. Samples taken from various regions showed high levels of contamination in fruits, vegetables, fish and tubers in a recent report. Experts say the toxins, undetectable to the naked eye, can accumulate in the body over time, leading to long-term health complications. Public health specialist Dr. Frank Dodu explained the dangers of consuming food contaminated with arsenic, lead, mercury and cadmium.
Most of the organs that are known to suffer from these heavy metals are the kidneys, and then the liver. Then, to some extent, the lungs may also be affected, and then the heart muscles. You may have scanty quantities in the food which may not be harmful to the body, but there are thresholds that we shouldn't exceed, and that is what standardization is supposed to help us to identify. So a lot of regulation is required over here. If we can empower the Food and Drugs Authority so much such that they'll be able to do the market sweeps, to be able to tell which food items are not wholesome on the market, so we can, rid our market of them. That would be very helpful to us.
Some market women say they source their produce from areas not affected by polluted water bodies.
Our cassava is harvested from areas without Galamsey. I don't know where the fish comes from. We gather our consumer from forest and cocoa farms, and never from sites affected with illegal mining.
Dr. Dodo stressed the need for stronger regulation to prevent the spread of contaminated farm produce.
Yes, there is cause for concern, because then again, if we get all of these pollutants into our system, it's very difficult to use our health systems to manage all of them. Do we have the resources well enough to be able to cater for people? How many of us are able to undergo dialysis? A stronger opportunity is to educate our folks, kinsmen, that we may not have seen the effects yet, so we think there is a way out, but if it hits us, it will just blow up in our faces.
With growing concerns over Galamsey and its impact on food safety, the question remains, what lies ahead for Ghana's agricultural future?
To some other stories tonight, particularly the arena of education, there's growing frustration and anxiety among parents and guardians who thronged the Ghana National Association of Teachers Hall in Accra seeking to resolve school placement challenges. But many left with more questions than answers. Nura Mohammed has more in this report.
It's been more than a week since the release of the school placements by the Computerized School Selection and Placement System, CSSPS, and thousands of students who could not be placed or who were wrongly placed have trooping from across the country to the NAT Hall to resolve their problems. Now, over the week, we gathered that some of the problems included the placement of male students in all-girls schools and vice versa, changing from lower grade schools to upper grade schools, and changing schools within the same grade level but to another region.
Calling for a decentralized system, one father could not hide his frustration with the ongoing resolution process.
This placement issue started over a decade ago. We should have learned something from this. We are still repeating the same mistakes. This particular placement exercise should be decentralized so that at least people can do it. It shouldn't be centralized at one place. When it happens like that, we don't have, let's say, one or two people trying to place everybody. And we are many. Look at the population.
Emilia Aye, whose ward has special needs and cannot attend boarding school, says her child has been placed in one regardless.
Say, in school placement in the third choice school, the STEM school.
My child was given her third choice when the placement was released, but we wanted a day school in the STEM program around the area. We reached out to the school and we were told to come to NAT Hall. When we came, they told us that school wasn't part of her choice, so they cannot change it. But my child is asthmatic and cannot be allowed to go far from home. Another parent, Philomena Tamaklu, who complained about the long wait time and wrongful placement, says her issue was eventually resolved. We have been here for long, and we were asked to get a letter from the school my child got. But the school he was given was not of his choice. He chose an auto mechanic course, but was given a different course in Prestia. But God being so good today, they changed it.
Now the process continues until October 18th, when students are slated to report to school. But until then, we'll keep a close watch to see if things ease up a bit in the subsequent days.
Also, for the girls at the State School for the Deaf in Ejekojo, returning to their dormitory now means stepping into a safer and more comfortable home, thanks to Cargill Ghana's renovation project that has transformed their living and learning environments.
Cargill Ghana has officially handed over a newly renovated girls' dormitory to the State School for the Deaf. The ceremony held earlier today marks a significant step in the company's ongoing commitment to education and community development. The refurbished facility is expected to provide a safer, more comfortable and conducive living and learning environment for the students. Speaking to the media, Managing Director of Cargill Ghana, Max Esot-Lat, emphasized the importance of education in shaping future generations.
We understand that education is very important for the children, and the environment in which they are getting their learning is also needs to be supportive. So Cargill, being committed to education, we invested time and also financial capital to provide a safe environment for the children to be able to learn and thrive.
Human Resource Manager of Cargill Ghana, Francis Yohuno, spoke about the company's efforts in education building.
This is one of the things we've done. We've renovated a lot of computer labs in the Tema metropolis. We've also been able to, if you go to Tema Community 1, the craft court, we've been able to build a craft court where children are able to go there to play, and then the community is also able to play. So this is what we are doing.
Headmaster of the school, Isaac Arthur, shared the school's gratitude to Cargill.
We thank Cargill Company for coming to our aid by renovating the girls' dormitory. When you watch the girls' dormitory, you may think that it was only put up yesterday. No, it's an old structure. But the way they have renovated it, in fact, it has become brand new again.
Special Education Coordinator for Tema West, Happy Manuela Kulibi, spoke about how the project will improve the learning outcomes for students.
We want to thank Cargill Ghana for their wonderful work that they've done for us. And it will go a long way to help our education here, especially the girls. Now the environment here is very conducive for them to build up their learning process.
One of the students thanked Cargill Ghana for renovating the girls' dormitory and urged other companies to also come to the aid of the boys.
Now, Vice President Professor Jainan Opokwajiman says over 2 billion Ghana cedis has been disbursed through the District Assembly's Common Fund to support development initiatives. Now, speaking at the National Dialogue on Decentralization and Responsive Governance in Accra, the Vice President charged local authorities to ensure that resources are used responsibly in order to achieve the decentralization target.
The two-day national dialogue is to review the achievements, confront challenges and explore new opportunities in the local government setup. Minister for Local Government, Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs, Ahmed Ibrahim, said leadership position is a privilege that must be exercised with accountability and urged local authorities to be responsible. He promised to ensure that within the next 3 months, the cities would be cleaned and brightened.
We went from Sakumono to Kaswa, then from Kaswa to Kaneshi, then from Kaneshi to Sekel, then from circle to police headquarters. The only place where the street lights were working were the Jubilee House and the police headquarters. In the night, everywhere is dark. In the day, everywhere is dirty. We strategize on how best that the city must be cleaned within these 3 months, and the city must be brightened with these 3 months. Accountability is not going to be a choice. Accountability is mandatory and compulsory.
The Vice President, Professor Nana Opoku-Agyeman, charged local assemblies and authorities to ensure decentralization moves from abstract aspiration to a reality that will reshape service delivery. She stressed the need for responsible use of disbursed District Assembly's Common Fund to support development initiatives.
When decentralization is merged with real empowerment and accountability, therefore, the results can be profound. This is the essence of responsive governance, guided by the principle and decisions that can be impactful, and these are made when they affect the people directly. Our reset agenda puts decentralization at the heart of national development. As government works to improve the disbursement of resources to our districts, we must also note that unprecedented amounts are being transferred directly to our local governments.
The Vice President said formulation of the National Decentralization Policy Strategy 2026 to 2030 is progressing steadily under the Interministerial Coordinating Committee on Decentralization and its Secretariat. The policy and strategy, when completed, is expected to provide a forward-looking framework for transferring power, authority, functions and responsibilities from the center to the sub-national level.
You're watching News360 live also on all our social media platforms at TV3 Ghana. We're back with more stories after this. Stay with us.
I love President Chako.
Hello, good evening. This is the business segment on News 360. I am Minu Afo. The Food and Beverages Association of Ghana says although efforts by the central bank to reduce the policy rate is commendable, a single digit for them is more ideal. Their call follows the Bank of Ghana's latest rate cut, a move economist Dr. Eric Boakye-Yiadom also welcomes, but warns must be guided by strict measures if the country is to reach such low levels without triggering fresh risks.
At its 126th Monetary Policy Committee meeting, the central bank lowered the policy rate from 25% to 21.5%, citing easing inflation and the need to support growth. This follows an earlier cut in July, bringing total reductions this year to 650 basis points, one of the steepest in recent years. For the Food and Beverages Association, the cut is welcoming, but not enough.
Look at other jurisdictions, we have policy rates at 5%, 6%. We are not there. So if we continue to go even below the 20% mark, that makes a lot of sense and cost of borrowing will drop.
Economist Dr. Eric Boakye-Yiadom agrees that the cut reflects progress made through the central bank's interventions, but he says the benefit must trickle down to the ordinary Ghanaian, calling for closer collaboration between the Bank of Ghana and the commercial banks to ensure lending rates truly ease.
I expect that the policy rate cut will not stay at the top there, but it will trickle down to the ordinary borrower. There should be a continuous engagement between the BOG and the bankers or the Ghana Banking Association to ensure that banks are also able to assess their risk to reduce their lending rate to their customers.
The Bank of Ghana says it remains committed to balancing growth with price stability, noting that any future rate changes will depend on inflation outlook and broader economic conditions.
Now, the cedi has been ranked the 4th strongest currency among Africa's top 10 for the month of September, according to Forbes currency data. This strong performance, which has seen the cedi appreciate by 21% against the dollar year to date, reflects improved market confidence and effective economic policies. There's more in the following 3 Business News Desk report.
The cedi's resilience has been a key driver of positive economic indicators. The firm exchange rate has helped to ease inflationary pressures, with headline inflation dropping to 11.5% in August 2025, the lowest it's been since October 2021. In response to this price stability, the Bank of Ghana has lowered its benchmark interest rate to 21.5%, signaling growing confidence in the economy's direction. A strong cedi directly benefits Ghanaians and businesses by reducing the cost of imported goods, including food, medicine, and capital equipment. This not only eases the cost of living, but also boosts business competitiveness. The cedi's performance places it behind the Tunisian dinar, which is ranked first, the Libyan dinar ranked second, and the Moroccan dirham, which ranked third. For countries with significant foreign-denominated debt, a firm currency like the cedi is especially important as it lowers the cost of servicing that debt. This frees up government funds that can be reallocated to vital sectors like infrastructure, healthcare, and education, contributing to long-term national development.
Let's now take a look at what's happening on the Forex and commodities markets. And that's how we end the business segment tonight on News 360. I am Minu. For more news updates come up next. Please stay with us.
segment is brought to you by
Sasso insecticide spray and coil.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the sports segment here on News 360 with me, Oreku Ampofo. The Ghana Football Association has officially appointed former Black Satellites head coach Desmond Ofei as the new coach of the national under-23 men's team, the Black Meteors. Ofei, who currently serves as an assistant coach of the Black Stars, takes over from Kasim Mengo, who has now been reassigned as head coach of the Black Galaxies. Ofei brings a wealth of experience and success at the youth level, having recently guided the Black Satellites to a gold medal at the 13th African Games in 2023. Under his leadership, the under-20 side also qualified for the under-20 AFCON in Egypt after a strong showing in the qualifiers in Togo and secured a bronze medal at the WAFU B under-20 Boys Championships held in Accra. Supporting Ofei and the technical team are two experienced assistant coaches in Yao Preko and Baba Nuhu Malam. Well, from one national team, let's move to the other, and this time it's the Black Queens because right back Comfort Yeboah has been defending her football career from a school park in Agosa SDA to other international tournaments like the 2024 Women's Africa Cup of Nations. The former Ampem Dakwan player is one of the few female players who are featured for the Black Maidens, the Black Princesses, and the Black Queens. My colleague Akosie J caught up with Comfort before her move to Spanish Women's League side Dux Logrono.
Comfort Yeboah has taken a huge step in her young yet promising football career after completing a permanent transfer to Dux Logrono, becoming only the second Ghanaian female to join the Spanish top-flight women's football team. She had humble beginnings. Her footballing dream started in basic school, drawing plaudits among girls and boys alike. Eventually, earning a place with Ampem Dakwan, one of Ghana's best women's football team.
Time I go school, JSS, na me bo na my imagine say bo na mpese me die madwuma. Na me bo school bo. Ache na Ampem Dakwan team be hu me na omo peke me na omo de mba. Be join na omo crab.
When I was in JHS, I wanted to be a professional footballer. My family were very welcoming of my career choice. I used to play in the school team before a man introduced me to Ampem Dakwan.
At age 18, she has grown into a vital cog in the Black Queen setup, often displaying grit, power, and boundless energy. The right back was one of Ghana's shining lights at the 2024 Women's African Cup of Nations, where the team battled to a bronze medal finish. For Yeboah, the dream has always been to play football at the highest level.
First time I share Ghana national team jersey.
The first time I wore a national team jersey was under 17. The U20 team also invited me before I joined the Black Queens for the WAFCON.
A box she has been checking after representing Ghana at both junior and senior levels. Like her best friend Stella Nyameche, Yeboah has won the national colours across all age categories. Stella, who currently plays for Fort Lauderdale in the USA, was often her source of encouragement, reminding her that the European dream was within reach.
Stella Nyameche, when Stella started under 17 and 20,
I started playing under 17 with Stella Nyameche. She's my closest friend. Anytime we speak, she encourages me to continue working hard to make it to Europe.
Now with her move to Spain, Comfort Yeboah stands as a beacon of inspiration to young Ghanaian footballers, prove that perseverance and belief can break barriers. As she begins this new chapter, she carries not just her own ambitions, but the hopes of a nation eager to see its stars shine on the grandest stage.
Or you can get some more sports updates, including Europa League action, on our social media handles at 3SportsGH. My name is Oreku Ampofo, and that's the sports segment for now.
Well, good evening and welcome to the entertainment news segment here on News360. My name is Noella Donko. An award-winning Ghanaian artist, Sakodie, has announced the launch of a new record label aimed at supporting emerging talents in Ghana. Now, when asked about his previous label and the two artists he had signed, Sakodie explained that his goal was to turn them into superstars, a mission he believes was successfully accomplished.
Let's get it, don't worry, I got it.
Ghanaian rap icon Sakodie is gearing up to stage one of the biggest concerts in the Ashanti regional capital, Kumasi. The much-anticipated event is expected to draw thousands of fans to the city. Sakodie and his team have touched down in Kumasi, where the Rapaholic Homecoming is set to take place, with several events to engage audiences and fans alike.
Guys, it's been amazing. Touchdown Kumasi has shown massive love. I was so moved I had to walk with the people. And it's just straight, you guys have seen. I had to perform. Yes, finally we are here, I can't wait.
For many, it has been pure love since Sakodie's arrival. Speaking at the Kumasi Rising Music and Media Tourism Dialogue held at the KNUST Conference Hall, Sakodie announced plans to launch a new record label aimed at supporting emerging talents across the country. Giving back to society has been his driving force from day one.
About to launch a new label. I've had a label assigned 2 artists. Big shouts to Yakubu and Strongman, doing amazing. But we are
they still signed to your label?
No. Our contract ended. I think it was 2 years, 3 years.
Why didn't you renew it?
I like when. So my happiness is when people have independence, but then I was a kickstart for them, right? So Akwaboah, I knew exactly what Akwaboah was going to do. I knew Akwaboah was going to find a tailor-made fan base, and it's exactly what he achieved. The point is, what we wanted to achieve is to make these guys big stars, and they are. That's it. So the next phase, we are about to do that again. So we are our ears are on the ground looking for new talents. Kumasi, definitely, if we find somebody or some people that we think we can invest in, we will. And then it goes beyond just Accra and Kumasi, all other places. So we'll be doing a writing camp. We'll put out the information soon. Writing camp are best to spot out talents because there will be a lot of talents in one room, writing and singing. Then we'll pick from there. And also look out for people on social media that we can reach out to bring on board. So next phase of Sakodie is just to give back to the industry that made Sakodie. That's it.
Now to some more stories. Ghanaian singer-songwriter and global Afrofusion sensation Camilo has released his powerful new project titled Trust in God Plus. Now the release continues the vulnerable and spiritually rooted journey, which began with the original EP Trust in God, which captured Camilo's reflections and emotional experiences throughout 2024. Now while the initial EP introduced fans to the pain, faith and healing he navigated, Trust in God Plus delves deeper into the unspoken struggles and internal battles Camilo faced as an artist, capturing the weight of expectations, silent frustrations, and quiet triumphs behind his music. The only vocal feature on this project is Titi Owusu, a rising Ghanaian songstress celebrated for her soulful tone and powerful delivery. Well, that's it for the entertainment news segment here on News360. My name is Noella Donko.
Thank you, Noella. International news is up next.
The French Navy has seized nearly 10 tons of cocaine worth $610 million off the coast of West Africa. French authorities have said 2 French naval vessels operating as part of Operation Corimbe intercepted the cocaine haul from an unflagged fishing vessel on Monday, acting on a tip-off from Maritime Intelligence, anti-drug authorities, and the British National Crime Agency. The naval mission has been deployed by France and the Gulf of Guinea since 1990 to ensure security in an area where piracy is fairly common. The French Navy said that 54 tons of drug had been intercepted in the area since the beginning of the year.
Well, that's our package for you tonight, but there's always more news on our website, 3news.com. I am Noble Crosby Annan.
And I am Ayisha Yakubu. Thank you so much for joining us. Good evening.